Little Red Riding Hood. Some 100 years ago, when there were fairies and wolves in the forests, there lived on the edge of a thick wood an industrious forester and his wife, who had one dear little daughter. The girl was very pretty and so merry that no one could help loving her. Her mother made her a pretty red cloak and hood. The girl grew so fond of them that she always wore them, so the neighbors gave her the name of Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother called her and said,
"Granny is ill, my darling, and I am too busy to go to see her. I wish you to carry her a basket with fresh butter, new laid eggs, and some cider. Go at once, and be sure you do not talk to anyone you may meet, and you must bring me back word how Granny is."
Little Red Riding Hood was glad to be sent on this errand. She only half listened to what her mother said, and having put on her red cloak, she went away with the basket on her arm. It was so long since she had seen her grandmother that she had quite forgotten her, but she remembered that her granny had sent her a beautiful doll and many other toys, and thought she would like to go and see her. On her way she came across a woodman, who warned her not to stray in the woods for fear of the wolves, which infested the neighborhood. It was a most charming day, and the child, quite forgetful of her mother's wishes, chased the pretty butterflies and made up a nosegay of wild flowers for her granny. Suddenly, as she came along a dark part of the forest, she came face to face with a wicked wolf.
"Where are you going to?"
he said.
"I am going to see my grandmother, who lives all alone in the middle of the wood,"
the girl answered.
"And what is your name, my dear child?"
said the wolf.
"Little Red Riding Hood,"
she answered. As soon as Red Riding Hood was out of sight, the wolf set off at a tremendous rate, and, running with all his might, he very soon reached grandmother's cottage. Here he knocked at the door with his paw.
"Who is there?"
asked the feeble voice inside.
"Little Red Riding Hood,"
squeaked the wolf, trying to speak like the child.
"Pull the bobbin, and that will lift the latch, my dear,"
said Granny. The wolf did as she told him and came in. The poor old lady was lying ill in bed, but the wolf did not give her time to cry out, for he jumped about the bed and ate her up in 3 mouthfuls. Then the wicked animal dressed himself up in poor Granny's nightgown and cap, and got into her bed, pulling the sheets well round his neck. When the wolf had left Red Riding Hood, the little girl went merrily on, but she soon began to dawdle again. Time passed quickly as she loitered on the road, so it was rather a long time before she reached her grandmother's cottage. She knocked at the door and the wicked wolf squeaked.
"Is that my dear grandchild?"
"Yes, dear Granny,"
said the child.
"Pull the bobbin and lift the latch, my dear,"
answered the wolf. The girl entered, walked up to the bed and gave her message.
"Put the basket on the table and come and lie down by me,"
said the wolf.
"Poor Granny,"
said Red Riding Hood.
"what a bad cold you have. I have brought you some cider to make you better."
"Thank you, my dear,"
said the wolf.
"You are a good child."
But Red Riding Hood looked in great surprise at her supposed grandmother.
"What large eyes you have, Granny,"
said the child.
"All the better to see you,"
said the wolf with a grin.
"And Granny, what large ears you have."
"All the better to hear with, my dear,"
growled the wolf.
"Oh, and what a large mouth and great teeth you have,"
added the little girl, growing very frightened.
"The better to eat you,"
cried the wolf, and sprang upon the terrified child. But just at that moment, the door burst open, and in rushed the woodman, whom the girl had met on her way and who now had passed the cottage with a friend and had been alarmed by her cries. The cowardly wolf let go his hold of Red Riding Hood and tried to make his escape, but the woodman set upon him and killed him at once, taking out her grandmother. They were all very happy and surprised at the turn affairs had taken. The woodman comforted the poor little girl and carried her towards her home. She had learned a lesson, which she never forgot, and her mother was very delighted to see her safe home again.